the cops, I think, are involved in this community outreach program, and I'm sure they've done something like this before, where there is a person who, for some reason, ends up at a homeless shelter despite having family who has space and resources for them to take care of the person, and for whatever reason, they're refusing to do so. And I think they're doing this community outreach thing to convince me that I can go back to the foster parents' house or whatever. And I'm like, I can't because of what they did, which is physically assaulting me and refusing to admit to their drug addictions and planning to use me for money. And the fact that I told them no, it was enough for them to plan to murder me. Like, literally. They wanted to actually kill me because I didn't want to give them all of my money and all my things, and I didn't want to have sex with them. And I said no to having sex with them because I'm not going to. That's why. And I think, I don't know if they want to admit this or not, but going back there is putting me more at risk than me staying on the streets, which is just really sad for this to be even a possibility here. They were actually involved in making this situation possible, which is probably another reason as to why they're looking for any sort of reason to justify what they did, because they don't want to admit that they were the terrible people. Like, they were not supposed to do this, and not only that, but they're police officers and all that kind of stuff, and they're actually decent people, all that kind of stuff. You know, like, they have bills to pay, they pay the bills on time, they have friends and family. How can I be a bad person? Oh my god. Dale Carnegie pointed out the first page of his book, where he said, in all honesty, even the most notorious criminal in USA, and I think it was like this like mobster guy, and his justification for all the terrible things he's done was, what choice did I have? I couldn't do anything else but that. I had to do it. Why are you blaming me for doing something I had to do to survive? Like, that was his justification for being involved in all the racketeering and extorting and the, I'm pretty sure, the rapes and the human trafficking and the drug use, and generally making the area unsafe. But that was his justification, saying like, oh, I didn't have any other choice, okay? Like, I'm just a poor person from a poor environment, and that's what I had to do to get by. That was what he said. And Dale Carnegie said, don't be fooled. Every criminal who has ever been caught has said the same thing about themselves. That they're just a victim of circumstance. That they were born into that situation. They couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't make any other choice. That's the only choice that they could have done. That's what they always say. Every criminal who's ever been charged with any crime. I've met criminals and they're always saying it's not their fault. Like, they'll be caught stealing and they'll be like, it's not my fault I stole. Like, I didn't actually steal. Like, I was forced to steal. It's not my fault. That kind of thing. Like, stealing's never okay, but like, they would actually flat out, honestly, like, people who get raped, they look at the rapist and the rapist would be like, it wasn't rape, technically. It's not my fault, you know? It's like somebody else's fault. Like, it's not my fault. Other people do. This is normal. Why are you saying this? That's what they say all the time, all these criminals. And I'm like, oh my god. They always try to justify it without actually taking responsibility for it. And I'm not saying that everything's so cut and dry in a lot of situations, but what I am saying is that I've never met a person who's been arrested who didn't have family members and who didn't have relatives and didn't have friends supporting their behavior prior to them getting arrested. Like, all notorious serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer and like John Wayne Gacy and all those people, they were part of a community. They lived in houses. They were in the neighborhood. Those weren't people living in homeless shelters. Those were people who had families and people who had support financially and stuff. Like, I feel like no one really has this click in their head. You know, like these criminals out there who get caught, they're CEOs who get caught for crimes that get sent to prison. Right? Like, there's people out there who do these really bad things, and they will always try to push the blame on the victim, and if that doesn't work, then they'll try to defend themselves by justifying, saying that they're actually innocent, they didn't mean to do any of these things, or like these things are normal, or like if I didn't do it, I would have died. I mean, ironically, that's like my situation right now. I stopped drinking and smoking, and I stopped hanging around all these people who are doing all these bad things, and I'm having all these problems come up now. I got sober, and I suppose I actually start to care about who I was talking to, who I was hanging out with, because I've met enough people to be able to decide that these are bad people and these are good people. These people will help, these people won't help. These are friend material and this is not friend material, right? Like, not. Also, I've learned that there's variation. So one person considers this person a friend, another person wouldn't consider this person a friend. Those are just standards. But yeah. And then that's when all these weird shit happened. Like, I stopped hanging out with these guys because they were doing some really bad things to me. They were saying all these really negative things towards me, and they didn't apologize, right? And it was affecting my mental health. So I said bye. And then I stopped drinking and I stopped smoking, and all of a sudden all these people have a problem with me. They're trying to pick a fight with me. They're trying to prove that I'm actually a horrible person and I'm just awful. And the more I refuse to participate, the worse they treat me, such as in this situation where they refuse to even give me food, which I'm actually
Agent passenger
rightfully
1,
allowed to
please proceed to
receive
the
because I pay
entrance of the
taxes as a
tower
tax-paying
where above
citizen.
a passenger R0.
I'm not even gonna get started. You know what I am? It's ridiculous that I have to pay somebody money to be able to sit in a place that's free for use for everyone. That's called extortion. Opening up a business and refusing people entrance based on the fact that they didn't pay you money to sit in that location. If you weren't there, anyone could have been there. If you didn't open up that business there, people can go there and do their thing. And since there's not enough space for everyone to put a roof over their heads, since there's abundance or overflow of the homeless shelters or whatever, that just means that you're extorting money from people. That's a scam. They're trying to make it look like it's not a scam by saying we're gonna sell these services to you, right? Like, we're gonna give you food, right? You can buy this food from us, and we have people working that we're paying, but you can't stay here for free. Like, you gotta give us your money, but we'll give you food in exchange. But if you want to stay here where you're actually rightfully allowed to stay here, you gotta give us your money. Yeah, that's called extortion. That's what loan sharks do. But I didn't say that they were a loan shark. They said it by the things that they're literally saying. I don't know why. Like, this is probably why so many people have mental health problems, because they're buying into this cult, right? It's a fucking cult. And I know it's a cult because, unlike legitimate businesses, they don't use violence and threats and coercion and illegal things to force people to go along with what they're saying. If they're doing that, that means it's a cult. If you have supported a cult, I'm sorry, you're getting screwed over.